Looking for no bullshit conversation about mental health? Find Learn from People Who Lived It wherever you get podcasts. Search it using all one word. Learn from People Who Lived It.
Welcome to another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It.
Hi, I'm Chrissy, and I'm in San Diego.
What's up, Chrissy? What story are you here to share today?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. I'm here to tell the story of disembodiment and the things that keep us from being our true selves, and how you can come back to your body and learn who you are through your body.
Okay, I'm leaning in. Who do you hope hears this?
I hope anyone that's ever felt like they couldn't be their authentic self hears it. And then there's like a part of me that really hopes that the woman that grew up in high control religion that felt like it was bad to be all the parts of herself hears it. Like, that's who I really, really try to speak to, is my former self. Okay,
this is going to be awesome today. Well, I met our guest about a year and a half ago. We had her on which was another podcast I was on with my friend Chris, called I Needed That. And your story just totally captivated me. And from that moment on, I've just been following along on the party here that you have on social media, and just really feel like I'm around you. I'm somebody who knows you, and I'm sure you get that all the time. But then I've been trying to get you back on this podcast, and then it popped into my head that I need to invite somebody else to join us on this podcast. And so it's all come together. And I'm excited to say that, Chrissy, I've got my good friend Cortney McDermott down below too, and she's going to join us for the ride today, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. I'm so excited she's here.
What's up, Court?
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. That's what's up.
I texted Court a couple of months ago, and I was like, hey, so I want to start having you on the podcast a little bit more, and I want to know if you'll be into joining me a little bit more on a more regular schedule. And, she was like, there's no chance. What are you paying? You can't afford me. I was like, you're so right. I can't afford you. Can you just do it for free then? And so I convinced her to say yes. And I'm excited that you're here and along for the ride. You're going to add some real value to today's conversation.
Thank you.
So I pulled this off of one of your posts, Chrissy, and I'm going to put it up on the screen for everybody to watch. But, that question that we ask here on Learn from People Who Lived It, who do you hope hears this? You made a post one time, and you were talking about the therapy that you offer at your new clinic, which we're going to get into at some point here today. But I'm summarizing this post, and I'll throw it up here. But here's who else needs to hear our conversation today. If you're somebody who feels stuck, if you struggle to regulate your nervous system, if you feel numb, overwhelmed, if you crave a deeper connection, if the trauma responses in your body are starting to show up like this guy and it's turning into something like shingles because you're just in such a bad place. That's who else needs to hear this podcast today. And I'm really happy that the conversation is moving more towards, hey, if your body hurts, there might be something else for you to deal with. It might not just be a physical ailment. I know you love to talk about that kind of stuff too, but Chrissy, first I want to take you back to the first 10 years of your life. And I want you to talk to us about who you are, how you grew up, why you were wired the way you were.
Yeah. So 0 to 10, I was a very, very good girl. I grew up in a wonderful family, 2 loving parents, still married today, but they were really involved in our really small church, which was good and problematic at the same time. My dad became a pastor when I was probably around 9-ish, enough for me to remember and watch him be ordained and know the weight of it. And so, yeah, I grew up in a really high control, like, be good. I knew about hell at an early age. And that's something that I've had to unpack in my own healing, is the fear of, like, what hell did to my nervous system. And I grew up with a specific theology called Calvinist theology, where they teach you that you are bad, you are sinful, you are wicked and evil, and that you can't trust yourself, that the only good thing in you is Jesus. And I've deconstructed that belief, been through a lot of therapy to really learn who I am without that belief in my body. And I now know what that did to me. That belief did a lot of damage. And so I 0 to 10 was a very, very spicy. I'm neurodivergent, so I'm diagnosed with ADHD in second grade. I went to a Christian school from kindergarten to 8th grade, and I was always trying to be the best that I could be, because I was trying to be super good, because I was so afraid of being bad. And so I was always trying to win approval. I was trying to win the awards. I was overachiever while also really struggling internally with ADHD.
Tell me a little, Court, about what you're feeling and thinking about as you hear her story, because I could see your head moving quite a bit down there as she was talking.
Yeah, I think so many of us share, regardless of what kind of backgrounds we share, in this idea that we have to be better, or that we have to be good, or that we have to get it right. And that failure to do so results in some kind of punishment. I know that I have had that strand operating in my psyche, in my body, in my mind for a really long time. And it's something that I've also been, over the years, deconstructing and softening around. What does it look like when you just know that you're also inherently good and that you can't get it wrong?
I was thinking about your story, and I grew up in a really strict household too that had lots of physical consequences for not being good. And I wonder if what I was thinking about in my own head was, I wonder if the church is getting any better at walking that line of like, yeah, look, I know a kid needs to be in line and they need to grow up with certain values and have certain respect, but there's also parts where they're just being a kid and their intention wasn't to screw up the world. And, maybe you don't have to lay the hammer quite as hard as you think you do. Let's kick that around for a second while we're chatting here. I'll ask you first, Chrissy, and then I want you to chime in too, Court. But do you think folks who are in these really religious houses are getting better at walking that line?
No, I don't think so. I think there's, I think there is a population of people like myself, who have left high control religion or deconstructed or created a faith that feels more embodied and true to like what Jesus actually taught. So I think that group of people is doing better, but I don't think that they would be associated with any church, or the typical evangelical church. I recently just saw a podcast a client brought up of, her name's Mathew something. She was a bachelorette and she's a very popular evangelical speaker, and her husband were on the podcast and they were talking very callously about how corporal punishment, how they're going to spank their child. And they said it with this like real callousness that was like laughing, like almost like they were looking forward to it. Like it was their right to hit their child. And it was so gross to me. And I was just like, okay, you don't have the space or energy to go there, Chrissy. But like, it really did show that there's this, like in our country specifically, I do believe there's a not backslide. What would you say? There's like a returning to conservatism that is very much about that sort of heavy-handedness. And you're right to parent in the way that you want to. And I'm just like, but can we also add like the proper psychological development? Can we add that? Because that's what we need.
One of the things I'm thinking about is this is just very interesting timing that we're having you on, Chrissy, to talk about this. And pardon me, but I'm just going to share a quick story. I'm in the middle of my faith journey, as I think a lot of people are. I think if we're honest with ourselves, we're always kind of on the journey. There's times where we feel a little bit more rock solid than others, but by and large, we're searching. And this is going to be a long ass question after I tell this story to you, but So I grew up in the church and, it was real strict, and kind of like you, Chrissy, it worked for me until it didn't. And then I got to a point where I just didn't really want to be in it anymore. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't look at everybody. I felt like I was a hypocrite. I'd see these people on Saturday and Sunday doing one thing, and like the other 5 days of the week were like pure chaos. And it was I think it broke my heart. If I'm really honest about how I felt as a kid, like it made me really sad because nobody was doing the things we were talking about, right? Specifically members of my own family and, friends in our peer group and the people around us. At any rate, I fell away from religion for like 20 years. And it wasn't like I became this atheist who didn't believe. I just set down all my Jesus talk and I set down all the other stuff that I had figured out. And I started to get a little bit more into Buddhism. And I started to get into just what other religions were getting into themselves in terms of the way that they think about things. And look, I started to really relate with Buddhism, and I got down that road with Buddhism where I felt very comfortable in it. That felt like my identity. If you would have asked me, who are you? I would have said a Buddhist. I have a laughing Buddha here somewhere, if you can see it on my arm. I mean, I was really into Buddhism, and look, I still think it's this unbelievable, beautiful religion. But I found myself going back to a church here locally just about 6 months ago. And Court knows this because I've been talking to her about it. But I mean, I can't help it. It's been bringing me so much joy to be back in this church. And not so much that I'm down with all the things that are being said, because I don't know if I'm all in just yet. I'm on a journey, right? I'm on my journey to Jesus, if you will. But I'm figuring it out. And so here's the question as we come kind of full circle. In some ways, as long as I spent a lot of years hating the religion and being very angry at all of the things that had happened to me surrounding that. But I've always held this one belief, which is I'm actually really happy that I have that foundation, that I had some place to start. And I don't know that I've given that to my own children. I don't know that I've given them a starting point because of my own disconnection to it. I think, they'll resonate with me being spiritual. They'll resonate with me being Buddhist. I don't think that they think of me as a Christian or any of those things. So here is the question finally. Do you find a deep regard for the way it started?
That's a great question. Yeah. A deep regard for faith. And that's why I say, like, I'm a person of embodied faith. Or oftentimes I'll say I had to leave the church to follow Christ. And incidentally, I did find a church locally that has all of my values, and they have this beautiful sign that says LGBTQ friendly, safe place. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't authentically step into a church that preaches Jesus's teachings that doesn't also lift up women and the marginalized folks. And so I have absolutely that's the community. That's probably what you're feeling that's adding to your life is this sense of community and belonging and looking to something that is greater than yourself. So absolutely 100%. I have so much gratitude for that experience, and that I have that, and that, it's just harder to find, I think, these days, where it's like, do we all agree? And we don't have to all agree.
Yeah. And I think that's the point. I don't want to agree. And in fact, and I don't mean that in ill will. I mean, I want you to have your thing just like I want to have my own thing. I just want that to be okay for everybody. Court, I wonder about what your thoughts are about religion and spirituality, and where do the roads merge for you?
Yeah, I did not grow up in a religious or spiritual environment. I did grow up, going back to the beginning of this, in a very punitive environment, an environment that said you have to be this way or else. But I hear you talking about this, and the thing that really stuck out for me was that starting point. And what emerged for me from my early experience and my experience every day is the starting point's in you. The starting point is in you. And I think that's what Chrissy's talking about when she says I had to leave it all to come back to those essential teachings. And I think, Mathew, you are modeling that for your children. You have modeled that for your children. And just to say that on a side note as well. And it's this reminder to all of us that the intelligence that we're talking about, that we want to call God or we want to call by any other name, is the one that is conducting all of it. And we somehow kind of, I think we oftentimes get in the way of, maybe we struggle to believe that. But what I often will tell people too is it's just, I mean, think about whatever that intelligence is that's conducting the trillions of biochemical reactions occurring in your body every second, right? You're not saying that you need to create a 5-year plan for that, right? And you're not wondering whether the sun's going to come up or not. I mean, maybe on some level you can question that if it's going to happen, but you're sort of relying on this greater intelligence. Again, give it what name you will, and knowing that that intelligence is within you, and that it is always providing that next answer.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, and I think the conversation that we just had, if there's an intentionality for it, for me, it's just that we give people who are in a faith that doesn't make sense to them right now permission to just step away for a little while and just take a breather, man. Pump the brakes. Go discover yourself and figure out who you want to be, and then come back to the party. And if it feels like where you want to hang out, cool. Like, hang out. And if it doesn't, then go find something else. Like, there's so much room and space for people they don't have to be unhappy, is I guess what I'm trying to convey, right? They can move away from these things. It's hard though. And I wonder, Chrissy, back to your story, when you stepped away from the church, did you experience a huge backlash? Were people not excited about that move?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk about that.
And I chose to do it online. Yeah. Well, I was like a OG mommy blogger back in the day.
Yeah,
and so I shared a lot. I shared a lot about my faith. I shared a lot about going to church, and we would take these perfect photos in front of our garage before Sunday. And I'd set my camera up and be like, we got to take a picture of us going to church. And I was so disembodied that almost that entire time while I was doing that. And it was my body that brought me back. It was panic attacks. I was having severe panic attacks. I was having flashbacks at night. I was walking around just like a floating head, a shell of myself. I kept thinking, is this what it feels like to come home from war? I wonder if this is what it feels like, because this is what it feels like in my body. I was literally at war every day. And there were many things that sort of added to that nervous system dysregulation. But when we left, it was COVID. So a lot of people left at that time because literally we had to. There's something interesting that did happen. The last day that I was at our church, I spoke. And that was a big deal for me because I grew up in a church where women weren't allowed to speak. We weren't allowed to even educate boys at the age of 4th grade. You had to have a man with you. So I very much knew that my voice did not resonate or matter as much as men. And I wanted so badly to find a way around that. So I did with youth group. They let me speak and stuff like that. And I wanted to make my dad proud. And so much of this was just making my dad proud and being good and seen as that. And so the last day I was turning 37, it was my birthday. It was March 8th, which is International Women's Day. And it was 2020. And they had me speak at this business mixer thing at church. And I was on a board with 2 other men, and I was nervous. My body was just like, this is so scary. And I was like, yes, but we're going to do it. And the room was packed. And my mom and dad were there, and my husband and my friends and their husbands. And I pretty much my husband's like, you just Brene Browned that. I was like, thank you. That's the best compliment. Even though I was so nervous to speak, I felt so reparative. It felt like reclamation. And I spoke about being a part, being a woman, being a mom, being an influencer, being a therapist. I spoke about all the things that I do. And I kept feeling like they wanted me, I was just the token woman up there, or that everything I did should have been for Jesus. And I was like, well, I think everything I do is divine. Like, I think everything I do is sacred. Like, I make money doing this. And it was like almost baffling to them, I think, that I was like this dynamic woman. And the pastor came up to me after, and he shook my hand and he said, I had no idea. And I left that day feeling so bad because, I mean, good in a way. My dad was so proud of me, but bad because I had been at that church and served there for over 10 years. And I had known for those 10 years, I was just Sam's wife to him. And I just knew this was so out of alignment. I didn't want to be in a place where women weren't as equal as men, like that their voice didn't matter as much. And so for me, leaving was a reclamation. And I did do it online because I was looking for people. I was like, am I alone in this?
You needed support, right? Like you needed support.
I needed support. Thank God I had a therapist that had deconstructed religion. And she would literally tell me, like, it's okay to feel this way. You're going to find your new grounding. And I'm like, okay, but I feel like I'm like floating and falling at the same time. And I couldn't help but feel how good it felt to not feel oppressed and to not have anxiety like I did anymore, and to finally be able to heal. It's hard to heal from the thing that oppresses you when you're in it still. And so leaving and then sharing about it was really hard, because people would say things like, now you're sending people to hell, now you're leading them astray, which is all the things that I would never want to do. And they were triggering. I would have to process it in therapy. So I'm glad I did it in the way I did, because it was me. Now I'm writing a book on it. So I'm like, okay, like this worked for me. I trusted myself. And honestly, this is how I found plant medicine and psychedelic work. That's what helped me heal the most. And so, I mean, I can talk forever about this, as you can tell.
Yeah, no, and we will, and we totally will, because I do want to give people some tangible tools, right? Like here on Learn, I'm pretty big about it. We're not bringing you on just to open up the wound and then say, good luck, everybody. We really do. We need to close people up a little bit, and we can close them up the best way by just giving them a couple of tips or tools or tricks. And so let's get to the psychedelics in just a couple of moments. I want to ask you, you went through your therapy to deconstruct religion. Let's assume that there's other people here today, men, women, whatever, that are wanting to like, what's your nugget? Give us something that you learned in therapy that was really helpful for you, that enabled you to like start deconstructing the religion, or to at least sit in a different place with it. Can you reach into your toolbox and grab one of your tools for us?
Yeah, I went back to therapy because of panic attacks, and I thought I knew what it was from. And I said, it's from this event. And she said, no, I don't think so. She said, I think it comes from a long line of nervous system dysregulation in your childhood. And I was like, what? And I kind of believed her, but then a large part of me, the religious part, was like, be on guard. But I'm so glad I stayed with it and just like kept, like, it was almost like I felt like she was holding my hand through that process, like in session and out of session. So my number one tool would be, don't do it alone. Find someone, or a therapist or a coach who's been through it that you trust, that's also going to help you pay attention to your body, not theirs, not their story, your body. That's the number one tool.
Sounds good. Cortney, anything you want to add to this?
Well, I love the body piece. And I know for me, I was also really disembodied for a really long time. And the simplest way to shift things psychologically is to start to shift things up with your physical body, right? To just move. Shaking is one of my favorite things. You and I've talked about that in the past many times. Mm-hmm. But literally walking around the block, or timing out by laying down and paying attention to your body, what's happening in your body, and starting to get back into harmony with that, so that it's not all the mind running the show, especially if mind training is something that is hard, or whatever that looks like, but where you feel like there's just a scrambling or a scattered scatteredness to it. It's like sometimes just doing some jumping jacks or shaking out vigorously to a song. When I first started that, there were parts of my body I couldn't even move. I couldn't shake. And now I can shake everything, but it took a while for me to release a lot of what was just stored in my physical body. So I think that's one of the simplest ways for people to start to come back to this listening that we mentioned. And yeah.
Okay, let's keep into this lane of making sure we leave somebody with some tools. You found ketamine-assisted therapy to be something that was very beneficial for you. I've tried ketamine before too. Are there other psychedelics that you have turned to that you have had profound experiences with, or is that the one that's legal in the United States and that's the one we should talk about? I understand there's bureaucracy around this too.
Mm. Yeah, there's bureaucracy around it. The ketamine was my first introduction to
it was
therapy assisted, psychedelics. And so I had heard about it and thought, well, if I want to help my clients, I should do this myself first. And then was, just mind blown of how much it was helpful for me to do. And then honestly, cannabis has been one of the number one healing plant medicines for me. And it's legal here in California. And so me and my partner would, try it. And then we would just the conversations we would have, the connection we would have. And then also it confronted me with my worst fears. And I had to feel it. And this is what I do in the therapy that I'm trained in called selective inhibition, is we're going to the pain. And I know it sounds awful, and it is, but when you're with a therapist that's literally in it with you, and most of I would say a huge chunk of my healing has been through the training process of becoming a psychedelic somatic therapist, is we're using the nervous system, and we're feeling it. And cannabis has a really great way of showing you what's in the nervous system, even more than other medicines or ketamine. Ketamine is an anesthetic, so it often feels really good. And cannabis doesn't necessarily feel good. It shakes you up. It's disorganizing, but it's for a reason. And so it's so that you can complete the autonomic nervous system trauma response. It's almost like a wave. And so when I'm coaching my clients to feel what's there, I'll say, you feel the pain. Okay, let's identify what's that pain look like? What's it feel like? And let's feel it. Let's feel it all the way through. I'm right here with you in it. Imagine me there. I'm holding your hand. I've got you. And then I'll even use touch. It's contracted and consented. And because oftentimes that's what you need in those moments, was you felt alone in it. And so one particular moment, I thought I was in hell. And I saw my grandmother, not that she was in hell. She was a very pious woman. But it was triggered by thinking that I saw her. And then I looked at my partner. I said, I'm going to hell. I'm in hell. And I'm not ever going to come out of it. And it was one of the most scariest moments of my life. And I'm so glad he was there. And he grabbed me and held me and looked at me. And he said, I'm so sorry they told you that. You are not in hell. You are not going there ever. I am so sorry. I'm right here with you. And that pulled me out of it. And I'm better for it. I'm better because I've looked at my pain. I've gone to the deepest, most scary places in my psyche, and I'm better on the other side. But I don't do that. You can't do it alone. Don't do it alone. Do it with someone that's also done this work.
Yeah, that's so cool. I don't talk about this all that often, but when my father died in my early 20s, I actually credit cannabis for saving my life. It allowed me to really get introspective with what was happening. It allowed me to plug into my feelings in a way that I can honestly say I don't think anybody else in my family did. And it allowed me the ability to really process that event, I don't know, potentially with a little bit more grace, or at least a little less pain in the whole thing. And yeah, I too found the ketamine, and Court, you've not done ketamine, right?
I did try it. Yeah.
You did? I was unsure. Okay, so you tried it.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your experience was like, because mine was just this like blissful ride. I didn't find myself face to face with, Drago the Dragon or any of that stuff. It was a really mellow experience for me. I've had other melt your face off moments that scared the shit out of me. That wasn't one of them.
I went to it was actually a guided assisted therapy session up in Malibu, and tried it there. And I think because there were other people, I didn't really get maybe the direct kind of contact that Chrissy's talking about that would have been important. I do know that I connected to, it seemed like I was connecting to something very deep, very ancestral, which I've also had those experiences without plant medicine, but it was a profound experience. Yeah. Yeah.
It just sort of moves the ego out of the way. I mean, that to me is like the best power of a lot of these plant medicines, is that they sort of, it says to the bouncer, like, can you move out of the way here? I'm coming inside and we're going to take care of a few things. And Chrissy, the demon that you had to face off with, how were you able to slay the dragon? Like what eventually came through for you where you were like, all right, this is what it is?
Yeah. That's such a good question. I feel in many ways like I'm still slaying the dragon. And I always will be the rest of my life. It's the idea that I'm bad. It's the idea that I'm inherently bad. And there it is. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I bad? Like, did I post that thing on Instagram and did I do it in a wrong way, or am I helping people and hurting? Like, my ultimate goal is to love people. Like, I really value and love humans, and I want everybody to feel wanted and loved, because I want that for me. I want to feel wanted and loved. And that's why I just love being a therapist, and I love my clients so much. Like, I want them to feel what it feels like to be in their body and to love it. Because I think that's what being human should be. I think that's why God gave us these bodies, is to live in this beautiful earth and to do that. And yes, there are evils in this world that disconnect us from one another. And so I'm always looking to find that way back. But it's the idea that I'm bad. And so I do check myself often and like, oh, did that come from an authentic place? Did that come from a place of wanting to be seen, or was it really authentic? And now most of what I do really is authentic. And sometimes it's impulsive because I have ADHD, but it's like, it's real. It's like, that's me. Just, yeah.
All right. Same question for you, Court. Like, how do you tackle that?
Ooh, wow. Relaxing. Okay. Every time I think there's something to slay, I have to remind myself to relax. And actually not fight. For me, that's been my greatest lesson, my greatest discovery has been, what if I could relax around this? What if I could relax around this fear? What if I could say it's okay that you're here? What would that be like? And can I hold myself through that and then witness the next wave after that? Similar to Chrissy, although with a very different background, I grew up thinking I had to be a good girl and proving that throughout my whole life and excelling in very much the same ways of like, as long as you excel, people will love you, people will like you, people will cherish you. And I had to do a lot of, and still have to do a lot of letting go of those fears and of those connection short wirings in me, to remember that actually that's not what it's about, or at least it's not what it has to be about for me anymore. But again, that requires this deep relaxing and trust, which they go hand in hand. It's like, can I trust that everything that's happening right now is perfectly okay, even when it hurts, even when it's painful, even when I want to crawl into a cave and hide from everything and everyone? Can I trust that there's something deeper working through me as me, and that ultimately then can serve me and possibly anyone else that I come into contact with, if that's what I'm here for if I can be that, if I can walk in that. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Chrissy, before I kind of wind us
I do.
down?
I was just going to say, I want to add, because I forgot to say how I combat it. Yeah, that's the drug. And if I'm bad. And so I've done a lot of work around that in my particular training, psychedelic somatic training, with Dr. Hilary McBride, who is my dear mentor and friend, who's written a lot of books on embodiment, and her latest book is called Holy Hurt. So she specializes in also religious trauma. And there was a moment in one of my sessions, because we have to do this didactic work of if you're going to teach other people, you have to go there yourself. So that's why I love this work so much. And there was a moment where I was like, I feel bad. And she's like, let's go into it together. Pull me into that. And so I was like, okay, what's it bad in my heart? My heart, it was like this gray, scratchy place. It was like black and it was boring. And I was like, I'm bored. And she was like, yeah, I'll be here with you in the boredom. And she's like, what are we doing here? And I'm like, we're just climbing. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, what are you aware of? And I was like, I feel like I'm aware that I'm not that bad. I went to the bad place. I went to the place where I thought my heart was bad, and it was just boring and it wasn't bad. And so I looked at the pain, and now I have that moment in my psyche, in my body, that's like, oh yeah, we know it. It doesn't really exist. It's not real. I'm good. And so now I practice feeling good, and I practice living in my body and trusting, like Cortney said, trusting my body for the first time in my life as starting at 37 is incredible. It's night and day. I can live now because I trust myself and I trust my body.
See, I feel like if people aren't pumped up and motivated now to do work, to go deeper, to slay the dragon, do you hear how both of them sound? Do you hear how we all sound because we've done the scary thing? And look, there might be more scary things coming our way in the future. That's certainly a possibility. I'm sure, like you, I'm not done slaying all dragons, but it does feel like I peeled off one of the biggest, and you have no idea how those little dings that you take on the way up, in the beliefs that are instilled in you on the way up, you have no idea how they're influencing every single decision that you make along the way. And until you get aware of it, you're unaware of it. And so you're kind of just running on autopilot. And I don't know, you guys sound like autopilot sucks, and you're enjoying driving, and you're really in the spirit of, let's get this thing moving. My final question for everybody today is a phrase that came to me in meditation before we were getting ready to pop on and record this podcast. And these 4 words kept showing up: healthy to hang on, healthy to hang on. And I'm sitting with it, and I'm kind of batting it around in my head as I'm breathing. And what I came to was, what are the odds that me, Mathew, is going to be on a podcast with 2 unbelievable human beings and have a chance to talk about really serious content and then really uplifting content? The stars have aligned in so many different ways for the 3 of us to show up here together and have this conversation. And I'm grateful for that. And so I want to ask you both to comment. Chrissy, you're our guest, so you can go first. It's not healthy to hang on. So I want you to tell me what that means for you. I didn't want to give you a ton of construct around it. How did that hit you? It's not healthy to hang on.
It's not healthy to hang on to the beliefs that no longer serve you about yourself or somebody else. And if it's not giving you life, if it's not giving you connection, if it's disconnecting you, then it's not healthy to hang on. Okay.
What is it for you, Court? How's that land with you?
Well, you sounded like the Buddha. It's that teaching, right? That it's our holding on to, it's our clinging to whatever it is. And we cling even to things that we enjoy. We cling to the things we don't in ways because we're saying, no, not that. So we're still grasping in a way. It sounds like you're just going back to some of those great teachings of let it all go. Yeah.
Okay, follow-up question then for you. How do we know when it's time to let go, right? Because it does, we've all probably experienced that moment where we're like, well, I kind of have to hold on to this because it is sort of my identity. It is how people know me. And what will I talk about now? And how will I introduce myself? And, there are things that really get set up within us. So how do you know when it's time to let go?
Yeah, when the pain is too great.
Well, I want to kind of wrap up. I did have an intention of asking you one last question, Chrissy. Do you have time for maybe one more question?
I would love to.
Do you have time, Cortney, for one last question? There was a video that you posted on Instagram that got a lot of attention, and it was around this idea that you turned your purity something into a snake. I don't know how long ago that was. But I have two questions, and so the first one is what was it? What does that signify in your faith? And then why did you turn it into a snake?
Okay, we need to do another podcast episode on this whole topic.
I thought we might.
I would love to just explain it really quickly because it is another form of religious drama from a culture called purity culture that was really big in evangelicalism in the 90s and early 2000s. And it was this idea that you give your daughter a purity ring when she turns 13. And that is a signifier that you are waiting for marriage. Your body belongs to basically your dad and then your husband. And so you are promising to stay pure or a virgin until marriage, which I did. And some parts were great about that. And then other parts were, I just disconnected from any sense of pleasure that could have been good and how my body was supposed to work. And so I had this idea, and I wore my purity ring for many years till I was like 30 something. And my husband was like, why do you still wear that? And I was like, because it meant so much to me that my dad gave it to me. And it was probably one of my most prized possessions because I felt so seen and loved. I didn't realize later on in life until I deconstructed how much that disembodied me, how much I felt like pleasure was bad in my body, how much I had sort of given away. And so really changing it into a snake, I had a friend do it who's a jeweler, and the snake represents women rising. The snake doesn't necessarily represent Satan, which a lot of misinformed people on my post would say, of course you change it into a snake. And I'm like, you know what? I was afraid of snakes. I was afraid. I could never look at a snake and not think about Satan. And now I look at it and I'm like, it's so beautiful. It's so like a snake sheds its skin monthly, just like women do. We shed monthly. And so I'm like, I mean, I've changed the whole way I view being a woman because of this. Because I'm like letting go. I'm constantly releasing. I'm constantly becoming new. I'm constantly becoming better. And so, that's why I turned it into a snake, because it represents women rising. It represents change and healing. And for me, it was a reclamation of my body.
Wow. What do you think about that, Court?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I love it. The shedding, just born again, I mean, we get that teaching in a lot of different traditions. Let yourself be born again.
What more of an endorsement could you possibly need for anybody in the San Diego area to call up somebody who you're feeling like you need to go through something with? Like Chrissy's journey speaks to her experience, and it speaks to who she will be to you as your guide. And look, you don't want to work with somebody who hasn't done their own work. I know that unequivocally. I went through so many therapists, and it was like, this guy's more effed up than I am. And I was like, this ain't going to work for me. And then finally, I found some people who had done the work themselves, and you could tell the look on their face was different. The words that they used were different. The softness in which they spoke to me, it was different. And I have a feeling that you offer the same things to your clients and to the people that you work with. What's the front door you want everybody to walk through for you, Chrissy? Is it Instagram? Is it online? Like what's one place you want people to walk through?
I would love for people to walk through the door of Paradigm Wellness Collective, which is my group practice in San Diego. We're online too, so we have coaches and therapists. And if you want to work with me and do medicine work, somatic work, we can do that. And you can contact me through that website, and also find other practitioners that suit your needs. And it's just, it's been an amazing experience to like be a mentor and step into that role as a leader.
It's kind of your job now. I mean, pardon my directness, right? But I really think that's the gig. It's like when you do the work yourself, your responsibility is to help other people now that you're on the other side. Like that is the role. And, the hurt people, they keep hurting people, and the healed people, it's time for us to lift folks up. I do want to make sure everybody knows that Cortney McDermott is a 2-time best-selling author, and she's incredible. Those are a couple of her books there on the screen. Court, any final words from you?
I appreciate you so much. Chrissy, I appreciate you so much. I'm so glad that we're now, for the time being, in the same area. Just thank you, Mathew. I mean, you keep doing this. You keep showing up. And same to you, Chrissy. It's just such a testament of something greater working through y'all. So I really appreciate that. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who listened. It's so much, if you showed up and you listened and there was something in there, even if it's just one thing, amen. I mean, good for you. It's just such a testament to who you are. And I'm so grateful to the people that are there.
We have 3 goals with Learn from People Who Lived It. 1, to help you feel less alone. 2, encourage you to seek out a coach, a therapist, a church, anyone who can help you get through your journey and find some healing. 3, when you're ready, share your story with us.
Find Learn from People Who Lived It wherever you get podcasts. Search it using all one word. Learn from People Who Lived It.